Hi everyone, and today we are going to be doing a Christmas makeover. If you've watched one of my other videos about buying fake Sylvanians from AliExpress, you'll recognise these little characters, and we are going to be transforming one of them into Santa. I thought it would be a cute video for the holiday season, so let's get going and I'll show you how to make a Santa outfit for your Sylvanian families. So this is what I am working with so far. This bear doesn't have a name at the moment, so feel free to name him in the comments. So to make any outfit you just need some fabric. Felt is a great one, regular cotton fabric. But for this one I'm going to be using an old sock that I found that was the perfect Santa red. So we're going to be using that as our main fabric for this project. I just cut out some of the shapes that had the most blank fabric on it, and this is what we got from the scrap material. I'm going to be using a pattern to make this outfit, which will be trousers and a top, but if you don't have one you can always use existing clothes for your dolls, unpick them and trace a pattern from them. So this is my pattern for the trouser leg, which is what we were going to be working on first. There is a front and a back, and when you fold it in half this will create the one leg of the trouser, as you can see here. There is also a seam allowance around the whole entire thing, and there's a front and a back to it. So once you've cut your two pattern pieces out, we're going to be sewing along these lines that I'm showing here. So this stage is sewing up the back and the front center seam of the trousers. Once you do that, you leave a little gap at the top, so that leaves some room for a tail if you have a tail doll, and then you will kind of sew in this semicircle shape on the bottom once you flattened it out to finish off the crotch seam. And once you've turned it right side out, you will have a little pair of trousers. I hope that makes sense. The pattern that you can download, it has some more details on it as well. That will probably help, but once you get it all cut out it's pretty easy to figure it out yourself. So this leaves the back slightly open, and you can put Velcro in there. But for the Santa costume, I'm going to be doing some felt white trim around the edges. Now normally you would hem the edges on the waistband and the leg holes, so that's why it looks a little bit long in this shots, but because I'm adding trim on, I don't really need to do that, so I'm just going to cover up the raw edges with this trim. I'm just hot gluing this. You could also, if you were using felt for this entire project, just hot glue the pieces together, because felt works really well with hot glue and it's not really going to come apart very easily. So if you're a beginner to making Sylvanian clothing, I would recommend trying with felt first, just to get a hang of the patterns before you start doing any complicated hand sewing techniques. So to attach the back, just to make sure it's not flopping around and falling down, I'm going to add just a few squares of Velcro with some hot glue. You could also buy those very tiny clasps, they could also work as well. So after the trim was added onto the trousers, I attached some elastic strapping to the trousers to create sort of suspenders. Gives it that more Santa look, I feel. I just crossed them over in the back, and that's how they look. So I'm just going to repeat the same similar steps to this, but for the jacket now. So we have our pattern pieces. Because I'm making a jacket, I have cut this pattern piece into two. If you want to make a full-on t-shirt with no seam down the front, just attach these two pieces together and cut the shape out as a whole. Now these pattern pieces have two notches on the sides. Where I'm holding it with my finger here, you can see that there is a notch, and that is because the sleeve is there. So you're going to cut a little slit out of the fabric before you sew it up, just to make sure that when you do sew it, the sleeve is slightly more separated from the jacket, and you can move the arm a little bit easier. As you can see here, this is where you were going to pinch the sleeve together. I'm also cutting out a few collar pieces out of felt again, and these are going to just go along the hem or the neck of the shirt and will be folded down. I'm going to trim them up a little bit because they're a little too long at the moment. So this is the fabric. So once you fold it over, you're going to sew up about halfway, make a little slit there, a little cut, and then you can sew the armhole separately and sew the side seam up separately as well. This is all with the seam allowance, remember, so you're going to be making the garment a little bit smaller as you sew it up, so it will fit the doll properly. So now I've sewn up the side and the armhole piece. I'm going to repeat that for the other side, and then we can sew up the back seam so that we will then have a little jacket. So that's my back seam finished, as you can see here, and now we have our front jacket pieces, which do overlap a little bit, so I'll probably trim them down a little, and then we can get on to adding some more trim. So let's just do a little try on just to make sure that it's fitting correctly and if we need to make any adjustments to the length. So far it's looking pretty good. I'm just going to add in some Velcro just to create a closure on the front, with hot glue of course. You can also tack it as well just to make sure that it will stay on. And this is how it's looking. I'm really happy with this so far. Might trim a little bit off the bottom, but that's it really. So again, we're going to add the collar and the trim around the arms. If you're enjoying this video so far, please be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments below what your favourite part of Christmas is. So we finally have the trim done on the arms, and we're going to do that front panel that the Santa costume normally has as well, and also the trim around the bottom half too. Okay, so final trim piece is the collar. This comes in two parts, but if you want a seamless collar all the way around, you can just attach the two pieces together and cut one big long strip. And I just folded it down and glued it in place and trimmed it up a little bit just to create a more curved edge. And to keep Santa secure in his outfit, he of course needs his black belt. So I used a black strip of elastic, a gold eyelet that I just squished and flattened to create a little ring that's perfect for the belt buckle. I again just attached it all with glue. So that's his jacket complete. Pretty happy with how this has turned out, and we're now on to the hat. So the hat is probably the simplest part. It's just a triangle. You can cut this to whatever size you want. I just freehanded it, sewed up the edge and turned it inside out. Once it's turned inside out, you can tack it down to create a more folded hat or keep it pointy, whatever you desire. I added a piece of trim, and to finish it off, of course, we need a pom-pom. I don't have any white pom-poms, so I used this wool, which is felting wool, and we're just going to needle felt it into a tiny ball. You just keep felting it until it creates a tiny little ball, and be sure to make sure you use a finger protector so you don't stab up your fingers. So here's my little pom-pom, and it's a little bit fuzzy, so we're going to trim it down a little bit just to get it the right size and get rid of those fluffs. And of course, just gluing it back on. And there we have a little hat. I really love the sock texture for the hat because it does look like a proper piece of woven fabric with the detail on it, the texture. So that's really cute. So now we have all of our clothing parts, which is great. It's time to add the one last iconic piece, which is the beard. Now I wasn't sure how to go about this, so I just started off with a sort of general beard shape with felt and thought, well, I can add some felt. Then I thought, should I add a mustache? Not sure. But then I ended up coming up with this kind of template for the beard. I didn't want it covering up too much of his face, and wasn't sure how to attach it without the elastic getting into the way. But I'll show you the finished product in a minute. So I just hot glued on some of that spare wool felt, but it was kind of too much of a smooth texture, so I decided to use some of that wadding fabric that you might get in a pillow, which gives a more wiry texture, and trimmed down some of the excess to create a little bit more of a manicured beard. But yeah, you can keep it as crazy or minimal as you want, or don't put a beard at all. I also made a little mouth hole just to give it some sort of expression when it's on the doll. So here I trimmed it down a little bit, made some adjustments and attached some elastic around the back and covered it up with some felt just to make it super secure, because otherwise when you pull it on, it will just kind of fall apart. So now he is all complete. But we have a few more little things we need to do just to create a perfect setup for Santa. So I have been hoarding some of these Quality Street chocolate wrappers, which are just sort of shiny foil wrappers. Some are see-through plastic, all that type of stuff. And they're coming in handy now, so it was worth it. I picked some golds and some nice colours, and we're going to make some little miniature presents. To do this, you need to get yourself some cardboard and sketch out this pattern here, which is kind of like an upside down cross, but this will create a cube, and make sure that all the squares are the same size. Then you're going to just fold it up and glue it together and make a little cube shape. You can do this with any shape you want, just create this, use the same format of that shape that I showed, and you can create multiple different present boxes in any size you want. So once you have a bunch of present boxes, you can then go to town and wrap those presents up like you would regular ones, but with some foil. You could use kitchen foil, you can use old wrapping paper, you could create your own wrapping paper. You can really get creative with this and use anything you want. You could even use some of my downloadable wallpaper sheets for this. I have loads of William Morris patterns and you can get super fancy with this. I just used some old Christmas wrapping paper and that works fine. The smaller the print, the better for this, for realism purposes. And the wrappers that are from the sweets. I'm going to wrap them in some embroidery thread for bow details and add a few tiny tags. So let's see the finished product. So guys, what do you think of the little Santa and the presents? I'm really loving it. I think it's really, really cute. The presents worked out great. Great for doll houses to add a Christmas theme. I just attached, as you can see, around the neck so it doesn't interrupt with the face, with the elastic. Let me know, do you prefer with beard or without beard for little Santa here? Really happy with how this turned out. It's great for displays or just to add Christmas theme to your Sylvanian characters. So if you want to make one of your own, just follow this tutorial and check the description for the pattern pieces so you can go ahead and get to work on this and have some fun with some Christmas crafts this year. So I hope you all have a good holiday season coming up to Christmas, and I'll see you in the next video.